Welcome to Discourse Politics, everybody. Today, we are going to refute what is a hilarious attempt to own me. This is from a YouTuber. His name is Two Minds. He actually reminds me of a friend of mine that I have named Carlos. And Carlos and I argue about politics a lot, so this may come across as argumentative, but I think argumentative style is kind of fun. It's how I am. It's my personality. Most of my friends know that when I disagree with you vehemently, but I don't mean anything by it. So just so everybody is aware, this video is probably going to come across as a little condescending and a little rude, but this guy stepped out of line. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and we're going to go through it. So I'm going to do what President Obama used to call a teaching moment. So this is going to be a teaching moment. And the subject of today is why it's so difficult to actually have a serious discussion with liberals. And this person from Two Minds, I think his name is Dante. Dante provides a perfect example of why it's difficult to have a serious conversation with liberals today. Before we get to Dante's video, I have to sort of preface this. So just quickly, a little bit about me. I have a degree in political science. Most of my friends are liberal. I was considered the token conservative, even though I'm not really a conservative. A lot of my friends in political science sort of saw me as the guy who spoke conservative. I understand conservatives. I understand how they think. I understand a lot about the tenets of conservatism. And quite frankly, liberals don't. And so a lot of times my liberal friends would ask me, why are conservatives saying this? Or why are conservatives doing this? And I would interpret it for them. To get into a little bit more about me, I am technically a registered Democrat at the moment, but it wouldn't be fair to call me a Democrat in the sense that I only registered to be a Democrat because I wanted to vote in the 2018 primaries, and I just honestly forgot to change back to being an independent. From 2006 up until 2018, I was a registered independent. It's weird because I agree with liberals on a lot of things, but I very rarely vote for them. And there's a reason behind that. For example, just to give you some examples, I do believe we should have free healthcare for everybody. I do believe that we should raise taxes on the wealthy. And I do believe in a lot of other things that liberals believe in, but I rarely vote for them. And the reason is because I think in order for liberals to affect change, they have to do three things. And I sort of call these the three tenets of liberalism and what they have to do to affect political change, and they almost always fail. And those three things are they have to accurately and truthfully describe the problem or issue. Most of the time, they don't do that. The second thing is present a clear plan on how to fix the problem. So the issue is if you can't accurately and truthfully describe the problem, you can never present a clear plan or solution. And the third thing is you have to listen carefully to objections and address them in a meaningful way. Now, the reason I bring these up is because we're going to sort of see why people on the left are intolerable to talk to. They have reached a point where they no longer can talk to people in any meaningful way that can affect change. So keep these three things in mind. Number one, they have to accurately and truthfully describe the problem. Number two, they have to present a clear plan on how to fix the problem. And number three, listen carefully to objections and address them in a meaningful way. Let's see if Dante can do any of those things.
There are a lot of wild and crazy conspiracies going around at the moment. One that has kind of caught traction is this wagon issue.
And for the record, his video is about 9 minutes long. I'm going to cut it down to the most important parts. I am going to try and represent his positions accurately. I don't want to misinterpret his positions because one of the things I'm going to demonstrate very clearly is his selective choice on just taking a small portion of the video and then, basically doing exactly what he accuses everyone else of doing. So anyway, I just wanted to say I'm going to be cutting out large portions of his video. There's a link in the description to go find that original video. You can watch the whole thing. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to change any position that he has. For time purposes, I'm going to be cutting a lot of it out.
Now, what this turns out to be is hilarious, but it's fooled even really smart guys like this. This is Discourse Politics. Follow his channel if you haven't, especially if you're a Republican.
Now, he's been commenting on my videos back and forth, and we were actually supposed to do a collab, but, I think there was a timing issue. He's halfway across the world. So, there was some timing issue, although it was technically his fault that we didn't do a collab because I showed up at the right time and he didn't. But nonetheless, I will say that I understand that my content could easily be construed as this is purely for conservatives and purely for Republicans. And I get that because I've done a lot of videos that looked at things differently, because the mainstream narrative was that Donald Trump was going to lose in a landslide. He was going to lose by 9 or 10 points and that this thing was over. And I looked at the data a different way. I chose to use my knowledge to look at the data in a different way. And my conclusion was much closer to reality than all the pollsters and all the pundits on TV. And I just wanted to make that clear. So just because I chose to look at information in a different way, he assumes that that must mean I'm Republican and that my channel is for Republicans. But fair enough, a lot of my channel did look Trump in a better light than most other places.
But let's take a look at this video.
In this video, it shows the guy just kind of showing up all willy-nilly, all by himself, loading up a box of whatever. And by the way, this is several hours after the polls closed. There's really no reason that this should be happening at 3 in the morning. What took somebody until 3 in the morning to show up with these ballots? But
okay, so
in the morning, what took somebody until
okay, so what took someone to 3 o'clock in the morning to show up with these ballots? All right. So, when I talk about logical fallacies a lot, these are these like weird leaps to conclusions.
Now, please remember this part. Please remember the part where he says, remember these fallacies that I always talk about, how people leap to conclusions. Please remember that because as we go on in this video, he's going to have to eat those words at some point.
Why do you assume that those are ballots? It could be literally anything. And by the way, even if they were ballots, look at how small and tiny that wagon is. So you think some guy is going to risk going to prison with the eyes of the nation on this election to wheel in 20 to 50 ballots in a wagon at 3 a.m.? Come on, man.
So the lawyer that said that she thought these were ballots, she didn't necessarily say that they were fraudulent ballots. She didn't say that she thought that they were invalid ballots. And by the way, it was later discovered that this was supposedly camera equipment, which is fine. I posted the retraction on my page, and this is also part of my retraction video. But it's one of those things where it's not like she's saying that this guy's bringing in thousands of ballots. She's saying that this guy's bringing in an unsecured box into the counting location.
All right, but let's keep going.
3 in the morning to show up with these ballots. But nonetheless, anyway, there's somebody loading up a box of ballots into what appears to be a wagon, and then that wagon is just brought inside. So here it is. And so this is her first.
Yeah, so here it is. Here it is. All right, so I just want to debunk this like ridiculous claim like right away because it's all over the internet, and I'm just so sick of like hearing Republicans talk about this nonsense wagon. All right, it was camera equipment.
So here's the funny thing about that. When my friend saw the video, he looked it up and he actually sent me a link to an article, which I posted in my comment section and I posted it in my description saying, ignore the ballot part, or because the box was apparently supposedly camera equipment. So ignore that part. And then one of my friends texted me, a different friend said, hey, great video. I haven't seen that thing about, the lawyer being barred from the counting facility and the lawyer being told that there's no more ballots to count. And the lawyer being told that there's, 13,000 ballots, 16,000 ballots to count, 25,000, 30,000 ballots to count, 35,000 ballots to count. Oh, no, wait, there's 126,000 ballots to count. See, he leaves all that part out. He just puts the part in there where he makes his own little point and it's whatever. But when I said to my friend, oh, hey, by the way, the part about the ballot box, just ignore that. I think I made a mistake. He responded with, yeah, in the video, you said you don't know what's in any of the boxes or the bags in any of the parts of the videos. It could be benign. It could be nothing. And the funny thing is I mentioned that twice in the video, but did Dante put that in the video? No, he selectively edited it. So sort of the level of dishonesty to make sure that you just edit just the part that you want to talk about, to selectively edit, I think is completely dishonest, but that's beside the point. The problem is he doesn't want facts to get in the way of a good story of his, and that's fine. But the problem is that's why it's difficult to have conversations with liberals. You can give 25 facts to a liberal and make one mistake, and all they'll focus on is that one mistake. And so it's one of those things where, this lawyer is going through her thing, and she even said, and he puts it in the video, I'm not sure what the box is, but it looked like a ballot box that we had been monitoring all day. And I said later on in the video that we don't know what the boxes are. This is all conjecture. We don't know. We don't know what's in these bags. We don't know what's in. But the point is that this is an unsecured area that people are just walking in and out of where ballots are being counted. And it's supposed to be a secure area for ballots so that there's no chance that anybody's mixing in ballots with more ballots or changing out ballots or doing anything strange, right? And I even said at the end of the video, which of course he didn't put in there, that it's possible that none of it, by the way, none of this proves anything. And that's what I said in the video. None of this proves anything. It's just pure conjecture. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows what's in these containers. And all that we're saying is that it's strange that it was an unsecured area where they were counting ballots. It's strange that they made the lawyer leave. It's strange that they told the lawyer that there was 16,000 ballots or however many to count. Then by 10 a.m. the next morning, it became 30,000. Then not too long after, it became 35,000. And not too long after that, it became 126,000. It's a little strange. It's a little suspect. But, he leaves all that part out so he can make a good point, so he can make a funny point.
So yeah, please don't believe this ridiculous wagging story.
So now that we got the backstory, he goes on to read the article. Not important. You can read the article yourself or something like it. I posted a link in my last video, and I'll post a link in this video to the article that basically says that it was a cameraman, and the cameraman comes forward and says it was my stuff. Not whatever. Now we get into more of the meat and crux of why liberals are so intolerable, and here it comes. Remember earlier I said, remember this? Remember that his people jumping to conclusions and the logical fallacies and the holier than thou speech that he gave at the beginning? Well, here, listen to this part.
Well, I actually went up there. All the polls were closed, and I went up there after we had all gotten back to the hotel.
And see, what happened was I went up there because I was praying to find anything I could misconstrue as voter fraud or some sort of shenanigans. And I waited for hours. And when I finally saw something that I could take, to fit the conclusion I had already had, I just ran with it. Right. And I assumed they were votes, and I am an idiot.
Well, that's strange, because I remember him starting the video like this.
When I talk about logical fallacies a lot, these are these weird leaps to conclusions.
So without any evidence, he assumes that this lawyer left her hotel room, wandered around for hours and hours and hours, scouring the land and looking for something that was promised to her. The promise that something foul was going on and that she was going to discover it with her phone. And then she's just an idiot because she saw a guy carrying camera equipment in a box that looked like a ballot box, and she jumped to conclusions because she's an idiot. It's kind of strange because he started off the video saying that a logical fallacy, people jump to conclusions. Well, what the hell was that?
I was kind of watching the news and decided I was going to go check on, it's called Kobo. And so I thought I'd go downtown and check out how the absentee ballots were being counted. And
yeah. I just thought I would go down and check at 3 a.m. how absentee ballots were. What are you talking about?
And see if they were still counting, because I had actually heard on the news that they weren't going to be counting anymore.
That's exactly. So we were doing the.
Yeah, and they weren't counting. They weren't. They had all the machines covered up. So because no one was counting at 3 a.m. So the guy was just setting up video equipment.
So you anti-conspiracy theorists need to get your story straight, because the predominant story right now is that no place stopped counting. They counted continuously throughout the night. Yet here he is just magically coming up with this story, and maybe he's got evidence, but coming up with the story that the counting machines were covered. Really? That's the first time I've heard of that, because what I've read in the news today and what I've heard in the media is that nobody stopped counting, and that anybody who says that they stopped counting is a conspiracy theorist. So two minds, are you a conspiracy theorist? Because apparently they stopped counting and they covered the machines, but not according to the media. So I don't know who to believe, because I thought you were on their side. They keep saying that anybody who has any disagreements with the way that things were going on are some sort of conspiracy theorist. And that must mean you were one too, because they denied that they ever stopped counting voting. And you say that the machines were covered, which is amazing, because I've never heard that piece of information. Please send me a link if you can find it.
Oh man, I don't know. Here, let me
election
see.
stream all night. And keep in mind that into that point, when we
Oh yeah, this is another thing. The guy Crowder on this other right-wing YouTuber, and and there's no punishment for this, right? So now that they've got it wrong, and it was just a camera equipment issue, it's not like that means that they have to suffer any kind of consequences for it? Like, do you think that they're going to get on and make a video about how they were wrong? Like take even the guy Discourse Politics, who I'm telling you about, right? Very, very small YouTuber, and I really like the guy, right? But now that he's published this video, do you think that he's going to do a retraction video?
So two can play at this game, but before I get to that, yes, when my friend texted me and told me that there's evidence that that was actually just a camera box, I immediately changed my description. I pinned to the top of the comments, hey, update, don't, update that the part about the ballot box is probably talking about camera equipment. And so it blah, 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 blah. Here's a link to the article. So I did that. And that's how I do things. When I find out later that I'm not telling the truth, I have absolutely no problem retracting anything. I have absolutely no problem saying, at the time I thought this, now I think this. So at the time, she was saying that she thought it was a ballot box. And in that video, I also said, we don't know. This is still conjecture. Of course, you left that part out. But I can say now unequivocally that I do believe that there was probably camera equipment, or at least there's a cameraman who stepped forward and said that was my equipment, and I'm going to take his word for it. So it might have been someone's camera equipment. Now, here's the two can play at this game. Will you admit that you jumped to conclusions when you called her an idiot because she was supposedly scouring the area for hours trying to find some evidence that she was going to turn into some viral video?
Do you think that he's going to, get on, waste even a few minutes of his time and just apologize to people and say, you know what, I'm wrong. I accidentally deceived you guys. I take responsibility for my own actions, even though, look, I had good intent. I did it in good faith, but I was wrong. So I'm actually going to share this video with him, and I'm going to see, like, I don't know. Listen, so this goes out to you, Discourse Politics. Now that you know that what you were just telling everybody was wrong, are you going to, be a man and actually just apologize?
So this goes out to two minds. And now that you know that you selectively edited my video, you left out the part where I said, this is pure conjecture, nobody knows what's in these containers, when she even said she doesn't know, but she was sure that it looked like a box that was ballots that she was monitoring all day. And then the fact that you accuse her of being an idiot for jumping to conclusions when you do that exact same thing about her. Will you be man enough to step up to the idea that you created the exact fallacy that you claimed at the beginning of this video that others do? Are you man enough to admit that you created that same logical fallacy, that you selectively edited my video and you didn't address the major points of the video, which, by the way, that was a 20-minute video and you took like a 2-minute section of it. Why? Because the rest of the video you can't disprove. She was kicked out from being able to observe the area. Other lawyers who were also on the Republican side were kicked out of the area to observe. They put whiteboard over the windows so you couldn't observe. There were people going in and out in an unsecure fashion into a secure area. The ballots originally were 16,000. According to her, there were 16,000 that they had to count. Then by 10 a.m., it was 30,000. Shortly thereafter, it was 35. Shortly after that, it was 120,000. You don't address any of that. And the reason you don't is because you were dishonest with yourself from the beginning. You took a small portion of this video and thought, aha, I'm going to make a video about this because it proves my point. You jumped to a conclusion. And the funny thing is, not only did she say it looked like a box, basically saying she wasn't sure, I even said the same thing. You gloss over that fact. You gloss over that fact and you just sort of make this video about, oh, well, I'm calling you out. And the problem with your sanctimonious attitude is that you cherry picked, you jumped to conclusions, you call her an idiot, and then you don't address the important parts of the video, which was the security of the area, which there was none, the fact that she was kicked out from watching ballots being counted, the fact that other lawyers on the Republican side were kicked out of watching the ballots, the fact that there was only supposed to be about 18,000 absentee ballots that were turned in on the day of election, which by 10 a.m. the next day became 30. Then shortly thereafter, within 10 minutes, became 35,000. And then they put out later on that it was 120,000 votes they had to count. Now, it could all be on the up and up. I'm not even saying that it is 100% true that that's all fictional and that's all false and that there was no valid reason for that to happen, because there might be an explanation for it. But the thing is that you're not intellectually curious about it because you jump to conclusions. You did the very thing that you're accusing everyone else of. You're not honest about it. Therefore, you can't come up with a solution. And therefore, you're not even addressing anyone's concern because you can't be honest about the whole situation. You lack honesty, buddy. And that is why it is very difficult to have an honest conversation with the insufferable, intolerable, arrogant, sanctimonious left. They simply don't exist in the real world, and the world that they do exist in are little snippets of other people being wrong and them being right when they are completely dishonest about the whole thing. So because they lack honesty, they can't even begin the path of actually changing the country for the better. And that is the number one reason why I cannot call myself a liberal, even though I agree with a lot of the tenets of liberalism. They're censorious. They're part of cancel culture. They're against a lot of free speech measures. And, they hide behind this idea that there's something that they're not. But this is a snippet of the issues that I have with the left, that they can't be simply honest about something as simple as a video, which you could watch yourself. They take out about a minute and a half of a 20-minute video, and then they say, see how dishonest these other people are, all the while being dishonest. You cannot make an effective case for change if you can't even be honest. It is not possible. And because you're dishonest, because you can't describe the world in the way that it actually is, you lack the ability to make effective change.
All right. And when you discover that you were wrong, you should tell people.
I absolutely agree, Two Minds. So make sure you spread the word about how dishonest you are, because you were wrong. Right here, you have video evidence of it. Man up and tell people you were wrong. I look forward to your video.